One on Prime Video 5, DeRitter versus Malykhin. As well as, what is the other event? 164?
Yeah, one championship, 164 is the official name.
Let's talk one on Prime Video 5 first. We're going to talk about the main event between DeRitter and Malykhin, and also let's also highlight one other fight in the middleweight division for one between Roberto Soldic and Murad Ramazanov, or Ramazanov, never know.
I believe.
Yeah, man. So you have Roberto RoboCop Soldic, the 27-year-old out of Croatia. He has been on a tear, absolute tear. Most of all of his career has been at KSW over, I believe, in Russia. He will be riding a 7-fight win streak coming into this weekend's fight. He is 20-3 as a professional with 17 knockouts, 1 submission to add to that. Never been subbed himself, only knocked out once, and 2 decision losses. Murad Ramazanov, the 27-year-old as well, he is out of Russia, undefeated, 11-0, 4 knockouts, 3 subs, well-rounded skill set, like it. Mark, what are your thoughts on this matchup coming into this weekend?
So KSW is a Polish organization.
Oh, Polish, excuse me.
Just want to throw that out quick, and it's probably one of the highest level non-UFC, Bellator, ONE, PFL organizations that exists
they seem
in
huge.
MMA. And yeah, Soldic is a guy who a lot of people thought was headed to the UFC. That was the rumor for a bit there, and he chose ONE. So I haven't heard his explanation. I actually clicked on an interview of his last week that was about it, and then I had to stop watching it because I had to do work, so I never actually watched it. So I'm curious why he chose ONE. But here it is. This is his debut. He is 2-1 favorite, just about. He's minus 210. Ramazanov is plus 170. So yeah, Roberto Soldic is a pretty big deal. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. He may be currently the best, most established fighter who is not in one of the big 4 organizations that I just mentioned until this moment. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else more so than him, but no one is coming to mind. So yeah, Roberto Soldic is a stud. He's an animal. He was a 2-weight champ in KSW. The man's still only 27, as Mike said. He has 3 losses in his whole career. One is an early one, so we'll dismiss that. Another one was kind of early as well, but it's a split decision to Yaroslav Amosov, the Bellator champion. So we know how good he is. And the other is in his 1-1 series with Dricus du Plessis, where they both finished each other once. So those are the entirety of his losses. He has recently knocked out Mamed Khalidov in his last KSW fight, which is noteworthy considering the regard that people hold Khalidov in. That's another guy who people thought was going to come to the UFC a few years back. So he's a pretty big deal. He is fighting an undefeated fighter, a wrestler, so potentially someone who could nullify him. Soldic is certainly a guy who is more known for the striking. So there is a world here where maybe a couple takedowns happen and Soldic gets held down and the buzz of the debut gets kind of sucked out. Even the bookies think that. You can see it's only Ramazanov is plus 170, so this is no walk in the park at all. But I can't not take Soldic. I'm too excited to see him making this move. He's a pressure fighter. He's a burst fighter when he sees an opening. But at the same time, he's not a guy who rushes it or who gets sloppy like other knockout artists may tend to do. He's a very patient guy. He sets traps. He's used to defending takedowns because most guys don't want to strike with him. So I expect he'll be okay here. He's a veteran. He's been in a lot of fights. This is Ramazanov's first maybe true big fight, and I'm gonna trust Soldic to get it done in this one. He knocks out nearly everyone he stands across from. He's got something like a 90% finish rate or something like that. So I'm going to roll with him here. I will say he eventually gets Ramazanov. I will go with round 3 TKO for Roberto Soldic.
Okay. Omar, anything you want to add on this matchup before we go to the DeRitter main event?
No, I'm pretty high on Soldic, to be honest. So I'm always down to see what he's going to bring to the table. The Murad character here is actually very
stick with the first name. Yeah.
He's his wrestling is actually pretty legit, and he's obviously part of Team Dagestan. So I'm very interested to see how Soldic gets around it. If he's extremely dominant, if it's a close fight, I'm very high on him. So I'm interested to see how it goes.
I'm honestly surprised by the one matchmaking. Like, you would think they would be like, all right, for the debut, let's get him in there with someone who's going to stand with him, not someone who might freaking take him down and hold him there, you know? So I'm surprised they took that risk, but we'll see if Soldic can make it not matter.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the main event, one light heavyweight world championship bout between the current champion, Reinier de Ritter, who's also the one middleweight champion, and the current interim one heavyweight champion, Anatoly Malykhin. Let's see, de Ritter, the Dutch Knight, great nickname. 32 years old, out of the Netherlands, of course. 16-0, undefeated. This man, for the weight class, has great size, 6'4" tall. Of his 16 wins, 3 knockouts, 11 submissions. That's quite a finish rate. Anatoly Malykhin, though, quite the formidable opponent. The 34-year-old out of Russia, also undefeated, 10-0. His nickname, Slidiki. I don't know. It's Russian. I have no idea what it means, but I had to say it. I had to try. Of his 10 victories, all finishes, 7 knockouts, 3 submissions. This is going to be some real fireworks. Mark, why don't you take it away? Give us your assessment and your take.
Yeah, this is no easy matchup for the boy Reinier de Ritter, who has been looking fantastic in one, but he's going to have a tough one on his hands here. Always love a matchup where someone's O has got to go. It's always fun to see 2 undefeated guys match up against each other. The odds are tight. It's actually the challenger who is the favorite. Malykhin is minus 140. De Ritter is plus 110. When I first saw this announced, I actually thought that it was de Ritter going for the heavyweight title. Obviously, it's the interim because Arjun Bowler is still the champ, who's been out for, I guess he's hurt. I feel like it's been forever. But de Ritter has talked a lot about how he wants to try to be a 3-way champ over there. So when I saw this, I was like, here we go. And it's actually the other way. Malykhin is cutting down to light heavyweight to try to take de Ritter's light heavyweight belt, which I guess is not surprising because Malykhin is not the biggest heavyweight in the world either, so I don't think this cut should be too terrible for him. He's only 6 feet tall, so he's actually 4 inches shorter than de Ritter is. But either way, this is going to be a good fight. So in one, first off, with the rehydration stuff, light heavyweight is 225. So it's not like Malykhin is cutting to 205. It's 225. Granted, he's not supposed to be cutting, but you never know what one does with all this rehydration stuff. So they're fighting at 225. The fight is maybe a little more complicated than this, but in a way, it's kind of striker versus grappler. Like de Ritter, we know what he is. He will certainly be looking to drag this one down and wrap himself around Malykhin in some form or fashion. The guy grabs onto you, finds any limb that you leave out there, doesn't let go. Suddenly you're wrapped up, and he's hunting for submission. So we know his game. Malykhin is a guy who kind of looks to crash in, land big power on the feet. He's certainly going to be faster, more powerful. He's a more skilled striker than de Ritter is for sure. That is de Ritter's obvious weakness is the striking. And Malykhin historically has had very strong takedown defense as well. Granted, de Ritter is not necessarily like your typical shoot wrestler. He's more like trips in the clinch and off-balance things and crafty things like that. So we'll see if that makes any difference in terms of the takedown defense that Malykhin can bring. But it's a tight fight. I was flipping back and forth on it just because the athleticism and the power that Malykhin is going to bring concerns me. But as much as I think we may see de Ritter in danger, we may see him struggling at times to get Malykhin down, even struggle to keep him down if he gets him there, and maybe even see de Ritter hurt. I just wonder if Malykhin can get him out of there, because we've seen him survive some tough spots before. And in 25 minutes, I feel like at some point DeRitter can wrap him up, and next thing you know, we could be seeing a tap. So it's a tough one, but DeRitter is such a wizard that I'm having a hard time not rolling with him until I see someone actually beat him. So I will go Reinier DeRitter, round 3 submission.
Omar, any other words you want to say about DeRitter?
Sladiki apparently means sweetie.
Funny.
It's a weird flex, but there it is.
All right, let's move on to Championship 164, December 3rd, at the SM Mall of Asia Arena in the Philippines. We are only going to be talking about the main event. Any other fights or fighters you guys want to shout out? I see that there's a Brandon Vera sighting on this card. He hasn't fought in over a year and a half.
Yes, I saw that too. He's a guy who's always kind of hovered around the upper part of that one heavyweight division. He's always been a fun guy to watch. I like Brandon Vera.
He's been around forever. I just looked. He's 45 years old. This guy's
Is
kind
he
of
that old now? Holy shit! I didn't think he was that old yet.
Brandon Vera's an OG.
Wow.
Who's the guy that broke his cheekbone? Was it John Jones?
It was John Jones.
It was Jones, right?
Yeah. He elbowed him in the face, broke his whole orbital.
Yeah, on the ground. Yep.
Literally in the middle of a fight, made Brandon Vera just turn over and be like, "No, I'm done. He hurt me.
Over.
It's done."
Yep.
That's back when Bones was a savage, man.
That was the legendary run of John Bones Jones.
Yeah, man. Okay, digressing here. My bad. Let's talk about this main event. Strawweight world title defense, Joshua Pacio versus Jared Brooks. Did I say his name right?
I think it's an S, like Pacio.
Pacio?
I think.
Joshua the Passion Pacio, the 26-year-old out of the Philippines, 19-3 as a professional with 8 knockouts and 8 submissions. That's an 84% finish rate. Never been knocked out. Has been subbed twice. We'll be riding a 4-fight win streak going into this weekend. Taking on Jared Brooks, the former UFC vet. 3 fights in UFC. He went 2-1 and he got cut. But has an outstanding overall professional record, 19-2 with 1 no contest. 29-year-old out of Indiana. 2 knockouts on his record, 8 subs. Also riding a 5-fight win streak coming into this title fight. Mark, what do you got to say about this matchup between Pacio and Jared Brooks? And give us your pick.
All right, so this is an interesting one because it is for the strawweight title, which is not a title that you see very often in mainstream American men's MMA, at least. So they are fighting at 125, but again, it's rehydration. So this is the equivalent of a 115 men's division. So they are smaller than UFC flyweights that we are used to. Granted, Jared Brooks did fight as a UFC flyweight, as you just mentioned. Real quick, he is a big favorite. He's minus 400 as the challenger. The champ, Pacio, is plus 300. So, yeah, Jared Brooks, we saw him in the UFC. He was 2-2 in the organization. He beat Eric Shelton, and he beat Roberto Sanchez. He lost a split decision to Davison Figueiredo, and he lost to Jose Torres by a crazy slam knockout. And Jose Torres is a very good fighter. He might be one of the best flyweights not in the UFC right now. I never understood why they let him walk. So those are his only 2 losses in his career. Aside from that, the man his overall record is 19-2-1. So he is the real deal. He's been running through one since he signed there. He's 3-0 with 2 finishes so far, both submissions. And speaking of good records, Josh Pacio on the other side is nearly identical. He's 19-3. So it's a hell of a matchup. Two guys who are used to doing a lot of winning. And Pacio has done it mostly behind his striking. He's got some opportunistic jiu-jitsu that he goes to as well. But he's a striker, first and foremost, which happens to be where Jared Brooks is weakest. So there is certainly an avenue for Josh Pacio to catch Jared Brooks here and defend his belt. Unfortunately for him, I don't think that he has ever seen wrestling the caliber of a Jared Brooks, and I think Brooks can get it there, and I think Pacio is going to be in trouble when he's on the mat with Jared Brooks. Brooks also has never been finished, well, aside from the crazy slam that I just mentioned, but never finished by strikes. So it's hard for me to think Pacio finishes him here. I just think Brooks is going to be the bigger man, the stronger man, maybe even the faster man, depends. And I just think he can get in on the hips of Pacio, even if he's got to absorb a couple to get in there. And I think he takes this one over with his wrestling. So Pacio's been subbed before. I will say it happens again. And I will say Jared Brooks becomes the new champ, Monkey God, by round 3, rear naked choke.
The Monkey God. Fun one. Omar, anything you want to add?
The Monkey God versus the Passion.
It's like a movie.
It's the Monkey God for the win. That's just a better name.